So in September, the United States, in fact, Trade Representative Katherine and South African Minister of Trade and Industry and Competition Ebrahim Patel jointly announced that the government of South Africa will host the 20th U.S. Sub-Saharan Africa Trade and Economic Cooperation Forum, AGOA Forum, in Johannesburg. That's from the 2nd of November till the 4th. The forum will bring together the governments of the United States and AGOA-eligible countries, as well as representatives from key regional economic organizations, the private sector, of course, civil society and labor. The former U.S. ambassador to Tanzania and founder of the African Presidential Leadership Center, Stith, asserts that this particular tranche is the paramount importance. And he joins us live in a studio now. Former Ambassador, thank you very much indeed for joining us. We really appreciate your time. Talk to us about this forum and what it is set to achieve.
Well, it really is about galvanizing a consensus behind the renewal of the Africa Growth and Opportunity Act.
Yeah.
It's set to expire in 2025. And as your Minister of Trade mentioned in a recent release, that it's important to renew AGOA for a host of reasons. For Africa, it continues to provide significant access to the U.S. market.
Yeah.
And I think it's as important for the U.S. President Biden has made much about our competing with China in Africa. China now is the #1 trading partner with the continent. And you can't do addition by subtraction. So if you say you want to compete and you've got a trade instrument in place, you want to renew it.
Yeah. I mean, how do we see growth from where we are in terms of trade relations? How do we move it forward and ensure that both countries, or the United States and the continent itself, is able to benefit from discussions that are taking place?
Well, you know, AGOA, which deals with trade preferences for some 200 items, is an important bedrock. But we've got a particularly unique opportunity right now. The world is in the process of a global transition in terms of green energy. China, last week, announced a ban on the export of graphite. Graphite is a critical, you can't make lithium-ion batteries without graphite. And Africa has, according to some estimates, over 20% of the world's reserves in that area. It's got lithium, manganese, chrome, copper, nickel, all of which are vital to this energy transition. And so there's an ideal opportunity now for Africa to be at the front of a transition rather than at the back end.
Are we seeing lots of anticipation from countries on the African continent towards what is going to take place?
Well, you know, I anticipate that there will be an enormous turnout. AGOA has been a very important instrument, substantively and symbolically. But in addition to simply renewing AGOA, I'm hopeful that this issue around the development of Africa's mineral resources in a way to assist this green revolution taking place, but in a way that it is fair and equitable to the continent. And that would mean we green the global economy, save the climate, and enable Africa to prosper.
Yeah. If we look at South Africa, for example, South Africa is struggling to grow its economy, and part of what this aims to achieve is to grow resilient, sustainable economies. South Africa struggling to do that at the moment. How does a forum such as this, you know, plow into that? How does this forum seek to achieve you know, some of these ideals or goals that countries like South Africa want to achieve in terms of sustainability and resilient economies?
Well, let me say in all honesty, it's not easy for a forum like this, because these things are scripted, and I don't mean there's no spontaneity, but there's some objectives going in that they hope to satisfy coming out. The renewal of AGOA is a primary objective. What I would argue, and I think this is why what you're doing today with this interview and hopefully over the next couple of days, that one of the things that needs to be a central point of focus at this AGOA Forum is what happens on the trade side as it relates to extractive the industries on this continent. Tanzania, which I know well, I do a lot of business in that country. 70% of the exploration in Tanzania is by Australian and Canadian companies. Only 4% are Africans. You can't maintain that imbalance.
No, you can't.
And expect economic growth.
Yeah.
It's not to say that...
How do we change that, though? We want to move away from talk shops and practicality. You said it's relatively hard to achieve this, but there needs to be practical solutions that come out of forums such as this that will be able to be implemented to change that kind of imbalance.
Well, one of the things that can be done, the U.S. initiated what they call a mineral securities partnership early this year. There are 14 countries in that partnership. Not one is African. And if you're trying to get minerals, right, how can you have a partnership and you don't have any countries with minerals as a part of the partnership? So the partnership could be expanded. We did some things around tax credits as a part of trying to deal with inflation in the States. We could expand those tax credits to include partnerships between African companies and U.S. companies around this issue of green technologies. So there are some things that can be done on that front. At home, South Africa has a fairly sophisticated financial market as it relates to the mining industry. But other countries on the continent need to do the same. Again, the reason that Australia and Canada dominate in the exploration sector is not because God sprinkled a special exploration gene in Australia and Canada. They've got the financial mechanisms to help that sector grow. And so financial institutions in Africa need to begin to look at ways to support those sorts of sectors, because that's where the action is. Exploration is where the jobs are created.
I think at some point the United States was looking for an alternative host and decided to stick with South Africa, if I'm correct. Why did we opt to stay with South Africa?
Well, I don't know, but let me just say it made sense. You know, we don't need the drama, and particularly given this new ban by China, which takes place, by the way, December the 1st. And so it has some pretty profound implications. So, you know, drama is good for later tonight on television, of course, before the box game. But, you know, as it relates to this, no drama, let's get serious. There's some real issues to deal with.
And we appreciate your time here on the program. Thank you very much indeed for joining us today. The former ambassador to Tanzania and founder of the African Presidential Leadership Center, Charles Stith, talking to us about the 20th U.S. Sub-Saharan Africa Trade and Economic Cooperation Forum, AGOA, which starts here in Johannesburg. That's from the 2nd to the 4th of November.